Hello, ladies, and welcome to our next installment of
Hey.
Glimmer Team Leadership Training. So, today, what we have put together for y'all is leading by example and servant leadership.
So, with that being said, we're going to go into we rise when we lift other people up. Color Street can be whatever you want it to be, but you have to be a servant when you're in a leadership role. It can't be about you, it has to be about the other stylist, the people in your downline. They're not numbers, they're people. And if we get so wrapped up and so focused on pushing them to achieve success so we can achieve success, then in the end we end up failing because people will see that. People will see when you truly care about them and when they're just a number and they're more or less being used to get, for you to succeed. And we never want anybody that we bring into business with us to feel that way. Okay, there's room for success for everyone. Now you've got to figure out what that success means for you and for any stylist that you bring in. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But please remember, you've got to lead by example, and you cannot treat people as numbers. And if you help people succeed and let them know that they feel important, then your success will come when the time is right. But if you become so focused on you and what you want and what you need and what you want to accomplish, that's where things are going to fall apart. And we don't want that. We don't want that for ourselves. We don't want that for you or anybody that comes into the Color Street business, because we all are about unity and everybody succeeding.
So, let me take a minute to be super vulnerable and honest right there. There was a span where the orange in me came out. I have always been a competitive person. I like to promote first. I like to be the biggest part of my sponsor's promotion. Like, I like to be that spotlight. And I became so focused on my next promotion or maintaining executive or hitting executive that my goals became, I tried to impress my goals upon the girls that I needed to succeed for me to promote. And going to conference kind of like slapped me in the face two times over. Like, my focus had shifted from a genuine focus on my team's success to them succeeding for my bonus check. And last month, I took a step back and was like, whoa, reevaluate, reprioritize, you guys. Like, I am not focused on what's important right now, and that is the genuine success of my girls. And, like, real honesty, my bonus check went down 2 months in a row. Now, that was how you get my attention, like, mess with my money. I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, what am I doing wrong? And going to conference, I saw that my focus had shifted from my team and their genuine desire for their success to my next hitting executive, keeping executive. Okay, how far am I from senior executive? I had gotten so orange, which if you haven't done a lenses training, that'll click with you in a minute, that I couldn't from a right place say that I was more concerned about their success. And last month, after having that revelation and that focus shifting and making a conscious effort to keep my focus where it needed to be, guess what went back up? My bonus check. Guess what went back up? The genuine morale of the people that are directly under me that feel that pressure. So when we say these things, it's from a place of we've been here, we've done that, we've maybe already made that mistake, and this is why it's so valuable to share with y'all. So first up, in leading by example in servant leadership, we have take responsibility, you guys. So you're not in charge of someone else's success, but you are in charge of giving them the tools to be successful in your team, which means that you are taking on that true responsibility when you step into a leadership position to check in with your team regularly, to be available to them. Here's the kicker though. I find in many of our leaders or leaders in other teams or just across the board, that last 5 days of the month is when they are really the leader that they should have been all month long. They come in, they are hot and heavy. They are in their team page. They are posting incentives. They are boosting their team up. They're giving ideas. And I look back at their group and I'm like, but where were you the last 2 weeks? And you know what? If I notice that, your team notices that. So the leader that you are the last 5 days of the month, that charisma, that drive, that communication with your team, that availableness, imagine what you could do and what your team could do if you follow that drive all month long, not just at month end when you want to secure your promotion or your rank.
That goes back to people knowing how you care about them. If you're only there at the beginning of the month to get them started and at the end of the month because you want to get that end of the month, group volume up, they're going to see that. So we're going to lead in now. This one's going to be a hard one. Acknowledging your failure. Let's admit it. We're human. We make mistakes. Now, if people think that you are perfect and they see your success and they
imperfect
never,
right there.
Right? But if they see you as somebody that's way up here that never makes a mistake, they're perfect, I can never do what she does because she's just on point all the time, it's going to be hard for them to relate to you. They need to know if you make a mistake, if you're not successful in something that you've tried, let them know this. Be honest, be open. We're all human. They need to know that you're not flawless. And don't compare yourself to somebody else, okay? We're all in here. We're all learning. Whether you've been in 6 months, a year, a month, we're all learning and we all make mistakes, even as uplines, even with, bigger teams. We don't like you to see when we make a mistake, but if we do, we need to confess, so to speak, that mistake so people will realize, oh, okay, I messed up too and I can keep going.
Be that leader that can be vulnerable to your team.
Absolutely.
I struggle with vulnerability. I don't like it, you guys. I don't like it at all. But that makes what you're doing achievable to people. And that doesn't mean be fake and be like, oh, oops, look what I did again. But be a genuine leader that can be like, okay, so maybe I didn't handle that so good. Be willing to eat humble pie every once in a while. Like, hey, that came off wrong. I'm sorry. Be that person.
We have to learn from our mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. Let's learn from them, acknowledge them, and let's move past them.
Don't let your mistake be your crippling point, feeling like, oh my goodness, my team thinks I'm an idiot. I can't do this. Don't even go there. So next we're leading into be courageous. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so be willing to try new things. Be the pioneer on your team that tries that new sale format, that tries that new ridiculous live game that you think is going to be crazy. Be the person who puts together the vendor event. Be the person who, steps out and tries something. Your team is going to see that, and inevitably your team is consistently going to follow in your footsteps. So if you're never trying anything new and willing to try something new to grow your business, how can you preach that to your team? That's why are we doing this video? Because we're trying to be bold and courageous, you guys, and try something new, because how can we set that example for our team if we're not willing to put our pants on one leg at a time and get in there and try it too? So next is being truthful yet positive. Okay, so we're all adults. We all know that some scenarios in our business are just going to suck. It's not going to work out right. We're going through a massive technology switchover right now. You guys, it has been hard. It has been really hard to look at this growing pain of a new company and be like, oh yeah, they're going to work it out. It's totally cool. But panic breeds panic. When you are in a position of leadership, this does not mean to be fake. It means to acknowledge an issue and be the adult who can put the positive spin on it. Don't be the person that has a downline come and complain to you about something and you just feed into that complaint. Oh my goodness, this is the worst thing I've ever experienced. I can't believe they haven't figured this out yet. I don't understand why it's this hard. This should have been fixed by now. Don't be that leader, because then when you notice the morale on your team go down and you look at yourself and you honestly evaluate, oh shoot, Well, I mean, I kind of fed right into that. Be willing, be cognizant of what's going on, but be able to think ahead, to put the positive into every situation, because there's a silver lining of every situation. There's going to be ups and downs in any business and in any company, but if you are feeding into the negative mindset of somebody, then you're partly to blame for that, you guys. Don't be that person. So know how to put your business brain on and be positive about every situation, because this company is bringing unimaginable opportunities, but not if you're feeding into every negative Nancy issue. So next up we have persistent. So to be persistent does not mean to be pushy. And that is a fine line that you'll have to find for each person. When you are looking in your team, be persistent in your helpful pursuit of their success. If you have somebody who is towing at team leader, do they know it? You don't have to beat them over the head with it, but you can use positive affirmation, like using words like, you can do this, you will do this. Not, yeah, it could happen. Oh yeah, I mean, maybe one day. Be that positive affirmation that they need to see their own success. People, especially women, have a hard time finding success within themselves, and that comes with a growth of confidence, which I honestly feel like Color Street can help provide. But they're going to need that positive affirmation, and your confidence in them can be the make or break point for them. So don't be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Be the person that gives them that extra boost, like, I can do this. I'm going to do this. And you can do that without being pushy. Hey, have you thought about team leader? Hey, have you thought about team leader? Hey, sign two more people. Get 2 more people, girl. You could be team leader. That is not what we mean. But positive affirmations and praising what they have done so far and reminding them just how attainable their next step is. So next, number 6, create solutions. So where 2 or more are gathered together, you guys, 2 brains are always going to be better than 1. We have an incredible team of leaders on our team, and we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. We all come at this from very different perspectives, very different just streams of thought. So that's why we have implemented our once a week Zoom sessions on Sundays. You can, and not only can you, but you should be learning from your downline. If I sit here up on a soapbox like, well, I'm an executive director, y'all aren't. I know what to do. I know how to be successful. I can't learn anything from you. Y'all need to do it my way. This is what works. Y'all are gonna hate me. Y'all are gonna be the person that looks at me and says, yeah, I don't wanna be like you. Be willing to learn from your downline. Be willing to see what they're good at. I have leaders on our team that can put together a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint with the best of them. I can't even hardly work Excel, you guys. Like, I can't. So next we're moving on to delegate. If you're like me, you have a really hard time relinquishing responsibility
duties
to anybody, because I'm like of that mindset. If you want it done, do it yourself. If you want it done right, do it yourself. I always have very specific examples or ideas for how I want something executed, and I struggle letting people have, come this way,
thank you,
letting people have any of that control.
including me,
including her, my business partner, my partner in crime, my right arm. I still want to marionette it and tell my right arm exactly how I want everything done. So learn how to delegate. As your team grows, whether you have a team of 6 people right now or 60, as your team grows, you're going to realize that you need help. There's your revelation of the day if you take nothing else from this. You need help. So learn how to delegate by calling on the strengths of the leaders you have to help you run your team. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of maturity and leadership to be able to relinquish some of that responsibility by saying, hey, you're good at this, girl, do a training for me. Hey, you're good at this, could you put together a document for me? Be that leader that is able to delegate in a healthy way by delegating to people who are strong where you are weak.
So next up, we have be a listener. What does your team need? Don't assume that what you want or what you need or what you think they need is what they actually need. All right? It may mean that you have to use a telephone. You may have to do a one-on-one where you sit down and drink a cup of coffee, tea, whatever you want to drink that day. But anyway, you may have to sit down face to face with them. You may have to talk to them. You may have to, it may be through email, it may be through Facebook, but you have to communicate. You have to listen to your team. And something that I'm working on, we shout out when they hit, ranks and they BQ for the month and stuff. But what about all the times in between? I mean, all the good ideas that they have, all the games, the sell ideas, whatever good ideas that they come up with, let's shout that out too. They need to know that they are important.
So a lot of people, you can incentivize somebody, and an orange is going to love an incentive, a challenge. But then you have people, I'm very orange, my mom's very blue. Mm-hmm. She could care less about winning a contest or beating somebody to something, but she is a positive words of affirmation person. You could take the senior director promotion gift that I gave her and put it in a box somewhere and she'd be fine, but it would mean more to her for that verbal accolade, that, that just acknowledgement that she's doing something good. And you're going to have people in your team that are that way, that are driven by the same thing, kind of like their love language. So know what appeals to your team, and highlighting their successes that way may be what keeps them going in that time where they're just like, nothing's working, my sales are down, I can't recruit anybody. Then you come along with that, hey, that mystery bag you did was on point. Share it with your team page. Be like, wow, hey, Lindsay did this awesome idea, you guys, check it out. That may be the determining factor in them taking their next step.
So just make sure you're listening and you are letting them know that you're proud of them. I mean, sometimes people don't, hear the positive. They don't get the compliments. Life beats us down. In Color Street, that shouldn't be the case. We're going to listen, we're going to encourage, and we're going to be that kind of leader.
So this doesn't seem like it would necessarily fall into servant leadership, where you are serving your team and you're leading by example. And this is one that I may struggle with more than most of the other points we've hit on. Self-care. Self-care is a huge part of servant leadership, because bottom line, you can't pour from an empty cup, you guys. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants the impression of Color Street that to be successful, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe Color Street. If I think that the only way she is successful is that she works her business 24/7, she's up all hours of the night, she's available all day, all night, she's in the office 15 hours a day, I don't want that. I want Color Street for the opposite reasons of that. So if I give the impression that I can never take a moment for myself because I am 110% available to my team 24 hours a day, people are going to look like that and firm pass, you guys. So showing your team, you can have out of office days. Please don't make it the last day of the month. For the love of everything, don't make it the last day of the month.
Or the first day.
Or the first day. We'll talk on that later. But let your team know that it's important to take time for yourself so that you have something left to give. At the end of the day, if you are so consumed and beat down by not learning how to prioritize your own self, for your own mental health in this, you're going to be the type of leader that they're like, well, if that's what I have to do to be successful, I don't have time for that. I can't handle that. So leading by example again, and showing self-care and why it's important.
Always remember, self-care is important, but self-care is not selfish.
Correct.
Self-care is not selfish. It's the total opposite. You have to take care of you.
And I, again, have a hard time with saying, okay, you guys, I'm going to bed. This is my limit. I don't do good with setting office hours. That's something I'm struggling with trying to improve because I don't know how to just turn it off. You are allowed to mute Facebook Messenger notifications for 4 hours a day if you want to. You are allowed to take a day off with your family. You are allowed to stop and do something that is healthy for you because it will make you a stronger leader moving forward. So number 10, and this is our final nugget for you, work, 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 you guys. Okay, so your team wants to see you practicing what you preach. If I look at you and I say, wow, she's rocking her business, she's getting this great bonus check, but I don't ever see her selling anything. In direct sales, one of the biggest fights we're gonna have is the stigma of leadership being able to sit back and collect a bonus check and just be there to help their team, and there's nothing else to it. You don't want your team to feel that you are the type of leadership that is profiting off of their success and nothing else. You want them to see that you are not so far removed from the everyday hustle that beginner stylists even are experiencing. If you're sending out samples that day, you can put together an epic training, that's great, but does your team know that you still send out samples? Does your team know that you still may spend, 3 days a week, 20 minutes a day shipping orders? Does your team ever see that, or do you just show them the fluff? Let them see that when you're telling them to send out referral letters asking for a referral, let them see that you're doing that too. It's not to toot your own horn. It is to simply show them like, hey, all those bread and butter basics we show you, we still do those every week for our business, because you don't want them to think that they can get to a certain point where they can stop having nail bars. If you're a leader and you don't have a nail bar scheduled every week, you're doing something wrong. You want them to know that all these things that we try to ingrain in them as the bread and butter of this business are practices that you are still putting into action. Because if they look at you and you want them to follow your example, and they look at your VIP group and you haven't posted in 7 days, and they're like, well, she tells me to post 3 times a day. Clearly, I don't need to because she's not doing it and she's making a big bonus check. Your group is watching every move you make, so make sure that you are doing what you're telling them to do. If not, they're going to stop doing it. So I believe we have kind of captivated the kind of top 10 ideas, stigmas, how to be a servant leader. So make sure that this is one of those trainings that you take notes on, put into practice. Your team will see the difference. Your team will see the difference. So thank y'all for participating in this training with us, and we'll be back soon with more. Bye, you guys.